the building and chairman is responsible for all the services and so on. There are a rather vast set of responsibilities which were hooked onto this new role. And built into this contract discussion was this safeguard that the school community requested, which was that the chairman was liable to be dismissed forthwith if he lost the confidence of the school community. And I've never in all my time here actually asked a lawyer what that means. And I'm sure it's a very complicated business given the various employment acts that exist in the country. But I understand the spirit of it, which means that the chairman actually packs up his belongings instantly. And so that was the sort of hair-raising operation that the school envisioned, that there would be an itinerant gunslinger coming in and who would disappear from the scene at a moment's notice and take on an awful lot of the baggage that was required. And I think that's the way I received the mission, and that's the way it seems to me the school wanted it at that time. Now, at the end of 3 years, there was the first problem of how is a chairman elected and how is he re-elected and so on and so forth. And a very, very civilized procedure took place, which was quite simply that the council asked the school community for advice, and the school community met and appointed a committee of staff and students and invited some council members to take part, to sit in a room for a week or 10 days and receive delegations from all parts of the school and from everywhere to see whether they were happy or not, and was there an issue or were there a series of issues. And they met once or twice to discuss the report of this committee, and eventually they had a vote in a room like this to decide to re-invite the chairman, and that's what happened. And that's what happened in 1973-74. Now, a very curious thing happened in 1976, which is why we're gathered here in this rather peculiar situation, which is that the council of the AA, without consulting the school community, unilaterally decided to dismiss the chairman. And the school community didn't accept this and voted to reappoint the chairman, and then voted no confidence in the council. The council did not wish to withdraw its legal prerogative not to reappoint the chairman. A stalemate took place. A very peculiar feature of this stalemate was that the council wrote to all the members of the association all over the world vast packages of information which were sort of the case against reappointing the chairman. Eventually, new council elections took place. The existing council was decimated, and the new council re-elected, and I was invited to do what the school community wanted. And so very, very special arrangements were made so there would be an interesting and open and honest conversation about the reappointment or not of the chairman. And I insisted that the school community be brought into it. I mean, that was one of my requests, because I could not see how we could return to dark ages pre-1971, where the council, without necessarily knowing the school, could make decisions of that sort. And in a meeting with the committee of staff and students and council members, the procedure was spelled out about a sort of ballot, yes or no, and then the chairman was sort of saying whether he agrees or not, and so on, was what was finally arrived at. I had my misapprehensions about that because I know the statistics of the school, and I know very well that that kind of procedure is probably not good enough to make it possible for most people in the school community to even have an intelligent point of view, because, as I say, almost half of them are new each year. And after a 2-year period, there isn't much memory of what it's all about. So I'm slightly unhappy. Nevertheless, I think that the procedure as spelled out might have been handled in a more elegant way. I think there might have been ways in which conversations of a general sort might have taken place without the kind of curious documents which emerge and scurrilous unsigned letters which are circulated and so on, which are characteristic and an unhappy one about this place, but that in fact an interesting debate might take place about where the school is at the moment and whether dramatic changes are required or not. I'm in a curious position because I've been around for 8.5 years. It's a hell of a long time for me and possibly for you. And I'm not certain whether, regardless of what my instincts are, or what I would really like to do for the next 3 to 5 years or whatever, I'm not sure whether it's good for the school or not for someone like myself to be here. Not just myself, but a hell of a lot of members of staff to begin with who owe a certain, not allegiance to the chairman office, but simply they represent a generation of people who have been here for quite some time. I don't know, and I don't know what you think, whether it's time to actually go through the motions of lifting a generation out of Bedford Square, or whether that conversation should be put off. When I haven't heard anything from anybody, really, in any organized way or any intelligent way, about how I might read the signs. I'm inured to the kind of crap that goes through the mail about me. I've been reading it every 3 years religiously, and I know exactly what to expect, and it doesn't mean anything to me because it doesn't give me any advice, because it's the same old people saying the same old thing. But there hasn't really been the kind of intelligent discussion to give me the kind of feedback that I require. If there has been, I haven't heard about it. I haven't been a party to it. I haven't heard that it's existed. And so I'm unhappy with the procedure in the way it's being carried out. And here we are, and you're going to leave this room and fill in a ballot about this or that. But you haven't had the kind of conversation you ought to have had publicly. And I really unhappy about the previous 2 school community meetings which I had heard reports of, but they didn't quite reach the point they might have, and they weren't organized to actually produce a platform for a whole range of people to talk on the kinds of issues which at least would raise the threshold of understanding about the recent past of the school and possible in the future. So I stop on that point. I'm grateful essentially that the school community is involved and helping to further the tradition that it is consulted about its chairman. And I wish that in the future, no matter what the outcome of this particular ballot is going to take place, that you actually organize it in such a way that you have intelligent conversation. Now, the next point that was raised by Brian is, what is the role of the chairman likely to be during the next 3 years? And that, of course, is an extremely complicated question, because it's fraught with all the unanswerable questions. To begin with, the recent history of the AA has been largely about asserting the survival and independence of the school in spite of the package that's rigged against us. And if one looks across, just outside the building, and one looks around the world a bit, one understands that the economic situation isn't exactly going to get rosy all of a sudden. There's high inflation everywhere, and there's talk of world recession, and in Great Britain, presumably, there will be even higher inflation, and there will be greater government austerity and all the rest of it. So that whether it's the chairman's office or the council or student union or school community meetings, I have no doubt that the impact of those 2 facts I've mentioned will make themselves felt in the continued conversations in the school, and I'm sure that the chairman of the school will be heavily involved in actually working out a basic balanced arrangement so that the activity of the school can continue and advance, and at the same time respond and reflect the market in which it operates in. Secondly, what about British students? This is not going to be resolved in the next week or two. As you know, the school has made an effort, a strong effort, to try to reestablish grants for British students, which were sadly taken away in 1972. All indications that we have are simply this, that the government understands our position and is not necessarily sort of unhappy with the idea of providing grants for British students in one form or another. But on the other hand, we all read the newspapers, and we all understand that they are going through a kind of curious, masochistic almost operation of bringing down public expenditure so that conditions will or will not in the country. And I have no doubt that a decision will be within the context of their deliberations. The only thing I can say is that the school remains one of two institutions which is being looked at as independent higher educational institutions who have put in an application for mandatory status, and they still remain on the books and are being considered. And the correspondence I see from the office of the Minister of Education involved still maintains that we're under consideration. If we manage to establish grants, then one aspect of the school's sort of financial salvation is taken care of, in that there will be local students, there will be an assured number of students in the school's future will not always in June or July be very fragile as it is at the moment in terms of expected numbers. But not only will there be undergraduates coming into the school, but the whole kind of abundance of national educational policy will be there, research, postgraduate education, special programs will be funded, and all the rest of it. We've actually been savagely sort of torn away from all that kind of support. Regardless of the traditions of the school of dealing with students from developing countries on a postgraduate level and so on, the government has established centers of excellence elsewhere, and they've cut us off entirely. And so one sees that kind of decision as offering an incredible piece of not only security, but the kind of psychological security that the school requires, because it is indeed losing its lead with British steam. Now, another issue with regard to whether or not there will be grants for British students, let's say there will not be from the office of the Minister of Education involved, still maintains that we're under consideration. If we manage to establish grants, then one aspect of the school's sort of financial salvation is taken care of, in that there will be local students, there will be an assured number of students in the school's future will not always in June or July be very fragile.